Hailing frequencies open. Welcome back to Trek Retrek here on Geek the F Out. I'm Captain Johnny.
I'm Ensign Kayla.
And we're here to talk about episode 26 of Star Trek, the original series, Errand of Mercy.
Indeed. And in case you haven't watched us before, Johnny has seen everything Star Trek. I have not. I've seen very little. I've seen these 26 episodes of the original series, and I've seen Strange New Worlds and the Chris Pine movies. That is a drop in the ocean of Star Trek. And so we're going one by one from the very beginning of the original series, episode by episode, and talking about it from our two very different perspectives, hence Trek Retrek. Johnny?
Indeed.
Back to you.
Thanks, Kayla. TVGuide.com says, a peace-loving race gives Kirk a lesson in warfare when they hesitate to interfere in a skirmish between the Federation and Klingons that threatens their planet. Hey, Klingons! It's the first time it's the debut of the Klingon Empire in Star Trek.
Is it?
Yes. This is the first time
I think I'm just getting
first time they're
things
mentioned.
All sorts of confused now.
Well, chronologically is in terms of like appearances. Like obviously they were in Strange New Worlds, which would be in universe before this, but in terms of the show, this is the debut of Klingons.
Who are the ones? Who am I confusing them with? I get Klingons confused with.
Are you thinking of the Romulans race? From Balance of Terror?
Yeah, the Romulans. I get the Klingons and the Romulans confused, essentially.
Yeah,
because the Romulans look like Spock.
Yes,
but then this guy kind of looks like Spock too. It's like the OG Klingon.
Yes, there's a
they didn't have a lot of makeup stuff.
No, the makeup back then was not what it is today, and the Klingons are just lots of, I guess, the equivalent of fake spray tan and gold lame. Yeah, they don't have the, and we saw a Klingon in Strange New Worlds with
Indeed.
I can't. Raul, I think it was Raul with M'Benga. And some other Klingons in the season premiere of season 2 when they had that haphazardly made ship that M'Benga and
Ra?
Chapel. Ra, yeah.
Okay. Can you say Raul?
I said Raul, yeah.
Raul.
Anyway, first thing we see is Uhura. She hasn't been in like a couple of episodes, but she's right there at the beginning.
She really has not. Yeah, smack dab. And Starfleet says there's the imminent attack. There's probably going to be an imminent attack by the Klingons because, negotiations are not going so well. And they'll probably try to take Organia, which made me think of Organa every time I fucking read it or heard it. Or reading my notes, and which Spock says they're a peaceful, friendly people, and I mean they are, but they have no idea like what they can do, and severely underestimate them this entire episode. And Spock even like they're somewhere on the Richter scale of cultures, which is very interesting.
Is that what you said?
Terminology. Which I was like, that's not the right scale. And also it was like an insult to them. I was like, damn, okay, Spock. Artie. What's wrong?
I was looking, go ahead. I was just looking at stuff. Nothing's wrong.
So yeah, then right after they get attacked by the Klingons, they attack back. They end up destroying the other ship. But every time the Enterprise gets attacked, they like Klingon LOL, to things for dear
Ha
life.
ha ha.
I did not mean to say that.
Not
Uh,
even not even 10 minutes in and you already made your first Klingon joke. Ha.
um, yeah, cling on to things. And but did you notice that like anytime the ship was attacked, it was very funny.
No, I didn't put that together. Like, as in they were just like holding on to
Yeah, but then it would
stuff.
be like, and they would release really quickly. I'm like,
Uh,
okay. It was just funny. Um,
and release.
release. And so they find out from Starfleet that it is now Code 1, which Kirk is like, now it's war. Um, and so Kirk and Spock beam down to Organia, and no one no one seems interested in them, which they note.
Mm-hmm.
But after watching it a couple of times, I noted was no one is there until they beam down, which I don't know if that was just how the scene happened to work out. But if you watch it, there's no one there and they beam down and all of a sudden people are walking around them.
Probably to make
Okay.
the effects shot easier to manage of them beaming in so that they didn't have to like
Oh,
have
maybe.
a bunch of people walking around with the beam down effect going on, because I don't
That
know that
makes
we've
sense.
seen that yet. They do eventually start having similar effects where like people will be moving around while they're beaming down, like they composite
Mhm.
the effect into the shot. But yeah, I'm looking at
Mhm.
it right now. You're right. Like it's abandoned until they're like fully materialized. But then people are
Yeah.
walking like right from off screen. So I think the implication
Yeah.
is that they were there. But yeah.
Yeah. Which I didn't take it as like, oh, they knew that these are just bodies, like they're not actually in those bodies. Um,
No, I knew they took it as like, for a culture that's supposed to be primitive, they didn't seem to have much of a reaction to people just materializing out of thin air.
mhm, yeah. Well, I mean, just in terms of the writing, like I don't think they purposefully like it must have just been for special effects. Like they didn't purposely think ahead and be like, well,
Yeah.
why would they be there if these visitors weren't there? So
That's an interesting point.
I
They
don't think
might
they thought that deeply.
no, but that's an interesting point. Like there might not have been anybody actually on like physical bodies actually on the planet
Hmm.
until Kirk and Spock finished materializing, and they wouldn't have been able to see that there were no physical
Hmm.
bodies around until they were done materializing, which is when they appeared, and so on and so forth. And you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to look at it, though. I
Um,
didn't think of that.
yeah. Took me a couple watches to figure that out. And so Aelborn, which is a name, greets them, tells them they're in great, or Kirk tells Aelborn that they're in great danger. And Spock asks to wander around the village. It's like, sure, go for it. Um, and so Kirk is like pleading with them, like, y'all need to get the fuck out of here or do something to prepare your defenses. Like, you're in danger. Offers to help them, offers to protect them. And they're just like not listening. They don't think they need help, which it was one thing at first, but when they were continually so chill about it, I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" I mean, we figured it out, but, I that's I did not think that's how it was gonna end at all.
Well, as soon as he was like, the like a raiding party has materialized in the square, and they're like, oh, he's just very intuitive. No, fuck, he's not. There's something going on. Like
Mhm. Well,
I was wondering if they had psychic powers or if they were using magic.
I
Like
just thought that dude was a one-off.
Yeah.
Like it was just him that had these powers. But I guess the one of the other guys showed powers towards the end of the episode, I think it was. Um or yeah, I just figured, well, maybe because they have powers that they're in this council. Um
Mhm.
but also makes sense why there's not really like an authority, I guess. And yeah, and so then Spock comes in, he tells Kirk they're wrong. This is not a primitive society, but they also like haven't made progress for a long time. So that was another hint as to what was going on. Um yeah, still don't change their minds, and then the Klingons arrive and just start firing. And Kirk tells Sulu to like get the fuck out of there. And then yeah, that's when we see that Trefane, I don't know his name, something like that, is
Yep.
telepathic, and he knows
Yes,
the
you are correct.
Klingons are there with weapons. And so that's when they give Kirk and Spock their or their give them Organian. How do you pronounce it?
I was thinking it was Organian.
Organian clothes. And but they take their weapons, which I'm like, okay. Which I mean makes sense later on, but still I'm
Mhm.
like, the fuck. And then the Klingons just burst into the room. And Kor is the military governor. He's now the military governor of
He
Organia.
essentially proclaims himself that, yeah. Which
Yes.
I did you notice? I noticed this. Um, when the Klingons first walk in, those doors of the council chamber are like regular doors with handles, and you pull them open. They opened and closed on their own. There was nobody touched them. They just opened up and closed by
What?
themselves. There was no one like in the scene, like holding them or anything like that.
Maybe they were
Uh,
on like a string or wire or something.
but either way, they opened by themselves. Like they shouldn't have the technology for self-opening doors. But nobody noticed that these doors just opened and closed of their own volition without anybody's
Oh,
interference.
good catch. I don't
So
know what to make of that.
that's part of what was had me thinking like there's something more going on with these Organians, because there must be some sort of like, is it like Trefane sensed that they appeared and then the doors open? They're at least some sort of what the fuck did they call them in Where No Man Has Gone Before? They're espers, like Gary Mitchell and
Oh, yes. Just
Dr.
yes.
What's Her Nuts. I don't remember her name.
What's her nuts? Anyways. Comments on Spock being a Vulcan. I don't know what I meant by that note. Oh, core comments on Spock being a Vulcan.
Yeah.
And but they're like, oh, but Vulcans are in the Federation, so we're gonna like interrogate him. Kirk's like, now. And then that's when Core starts to like Kirk because he's feisty.
Yeah.
And he also doesn't trust men who smile, so he gives Kirk the job of liaison, which I'm like, I like, of course he's in this position to somehow be the liaison. um but of course Spock passes the test because, you know, his abilities. And Core asks Kirk if he wants to use the mind sifter to go through his brain, and somehow gets out of it. It's I don't know. There's some not like plot holes, but just I don't know, like kind of like unnecessary scenes, kind of like repetitive scenes in this. Same with the last episode too. I don't know if you felt that way at all. Nope, just me. Anyways, moving on. Um
By the way, What's Her Nuts was Dr. Daner, Elizabeth Daner from Where No Man Has Gone Before. And I don't know.
okay.
I didn't
Just me.
I didn't particularly feel like anything was repetitive, but I only watched it once.
Or not so much like repetitive, just like very similar scenes. Just kind of like with last episode too.
Yeah, there was, I would say in this there was kind of a like they kept trying to move forward and weren't getting anywhere. Like
Mhm.
first they blow up the whatever those crates were.
Which I'm about to talk about. Yep.
Yeah.
So that happens because he wants to show that they can fight back.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens because then, yeah, it's like, I don't know, just this back and forth and trying to get the Organians to fight and blah blah
And
blah. Like there's
they
just a
keep
lot of that.
saying there's no danger, like,
Mm-hmm.
and that nobody was going to get hurt, and et cetera, and
But
like,
says there's a danger to Kirk and Spock,
yes,
which is true. But at the same time, they could, when they're saying there's no danger, they could say like there's no danger to anyone because we have these powers that
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what
They
I
aren't
mean? Like they could
particularly
like,
forthcoming
explain
about everything. No.
themselves. Yeah, explain themselves a little bit more. Um, but yeah, and then after the explosion, Kirk and Spock go back to talk to Aelborn and the Organians. Little do they know they're being listened to by the Klingons, which smarties for listening in. And they come in and they're like, Kirk, you're gonna be killed. Good day. But then Aelborn gives Kirk away. He's like, oh, he's Captain James T. Kirk. Which he's like, dude, what the dick? Why'd you do
Yeah.
that? Which I thought the same thing too. It was so funny though, the commentary by Trefane in this scene where he's like, oh, you both like want to kill each other essentially, and they're like, yeah, no
Yeah.
shit, but they're surprised by it, and then that's when they realize that they need to intervene. So they lock up Spock, and Kirk goes to Cora's office, and once again they always offer drinks. Why do they always offer drinks? Which also,
I.
if anyone's seen anything, you would think like poisoned.
Yeah.
Just saying. Um and then I noticed, did you notice Kirk's furry boots? The boots with the
Yes.
fur? Yes. Very good. Um
A couple of the council have the same boots on too. Like in the later shot when they're by themselves in the council room talking about like what they need to do.
mhm.
A bunch of them had the same kind of boots on.
Yeah. Um but yeah. So then he tries to get, or Cora tries to get more information from Kirk about Starfleet. But of course, Kirk doesn't say anything. I'm just going to say this line now, but he literally tells him, go climb a tree. And I'm like, ooh, burn.
I think it was more of an insult back in the day than it would be today.
Was it? Was it really?
Uh,
And he's like, I will have Spock dissected, and gives Kirk 12 hours to tell him about the fleet, or he's going to kill Spock and do all this other bad shit. So they puts him, and then he puts him in the same cell as Spock, which I'm like, does no one learn not to put people in cells together? Like, you got to
yeah,
separate.
like
Man.
don't let them collaborate. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, which I mean doesn't really matter anyways, because Aelborn comes in out of nowhere and he's like, shall we go? And just
Yeah.
opens the door, and they're like, what's going on here? Where's the guards? Like, how did you do this? And the Klingons don't know how they got out either. And then Kor gives the announcement that they've escaped and says 200 Organians have been killed, and yet Aelborn is still chill about it, which that was like, okay, something's obviously going on here. Like maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
the fake simulation. Like, what was the name of that episode? We just did it.
Taste of Armageddon. You
The
want to
computer.
taste?
Taste. You want taste? I thought it was, maybe something like that. They get their phaser backs. Phasers back. And the council discusses what they'll do once they leave. Which I don't know why I put that note. Never mind. Which once again, Spock gives another very specific approximation this episode of what was it, like 7,284.7 to 1.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's not an approximation, like that's exact.
Yeah.
Can't get more exact than that. And so Kirk and Spock go to the Citadel. Meanwhile, Council is preparing themselves, and they make it to Kor's office. And but Kor thinks he's won at this point, and Klingon guards come in, but they can't fight. Everything's hot all of a sudden, and it's also, we see it's hot on the Enterprise. Sorry, go ahead.
Hot. No, it's just hot.
Okay. And that's when Aelborn and the Organians come in, and they're like, you can't fight. And I was like, these are some cool powers. Like, you can make things be hot. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was cool. Just a random side note.
Like 350 degrees, I think they said.
Oh, I didn't realize they said a specific degrees. Which
Yeah, I
also,
think
I
that's
was
what they
like,
said.
so is the ground not hot then? It must not be. It must be like everything else
They
is hot.
said weapons. They said anything that could be used to any
Oh,
weapons, including like if they're
okay.
if they want to like punch somebody, or because you saw them trying to like
Yep. Mm-hmm.
grapple each other and they
Oh, you're
couldn't
so
touch.
hot. And then someone, I forgot who said it, but someone said, I think it was Sulu, or no, someone said too hot to handle. I was like, oh, that's a TV show.
Yeah, I
And
think it was Sulu. He said the controls are too hot
okay,
to
it was.
handle.
Yes, that's what it was. And of course, Kirk is upsetty spaghetti because, he wants to fight, and so does Kor. But Aelborn is like, it's best not to fight, and says that the Klingons and the Federation will actually be friends in the future, which, I mean, kind of, maybe. I don't know. I don't know the
We'll see.
future. I know the past.
You do not. Yep.
And yeah, and apparently the Organians, their bodies are just for appearance. They don't actually need them. And they turn into light and just disappear, which I've kind of seen this trope before.
Yep.
And just a couple times. I almost used Wizard of Oz once again. Decided not to. And which is funny because when that's happening, Kor was like, oh, Kirk, let's team up and fight them. I was like, wow, how quickly you're like enemies to wanting to team up versus the Organians. Very
You can't
quick
fight each
turnaround.
other. Do you think you're gonna be able to fight them?
Yeah, exactly. And Kor's like, the war would have been glorious. And then Kirk's a little embarrassed by everything after because, yeah, didn't quite read the situation and what was going on that well. But also, I'm like, I think anyone would have done the same thing. They would have been like, you're under threat. Like, shit's going to go down. You need to prepare and flee or whatever you need to do. So, I don't know. Shouldn't be so hard on himself. That's it.
Yep.
That's all my notes.
Yeah, I think so they established that they have the Prime Directive in Return of the Archons, but it just apparently does not exist here. Because technically, if this planet is not spacefaring, they're willing to do lots of interference. Kirk is
Mm-hmm.
to get the Organians on their side. Yeah, because I read that, and like this is the exact opposite of their Prime Directive.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, we covered everything. This is kind of like the previous episode. There's like it's pretty straightforward. There's not a ton of
Mm-hmm.
extra stuff to cover. So
Mm-hmm.
we can go to favorite lines and moments. Did you have anything in particular you had written
Yes, I
down?
believe I had a couple. Um, I guess that line. I do have some good. That's what they said. Oh, but when Core was like, good, honest hatred. Quite very
Yeah.
refreshing. I liked that line.
Yeah, that was a good one.
What about you?
When Core and Kirk are the only one I really have note of off the top of my head, is when they're in the room and they realize they can't fight each other and they're talking to the Organians about it, and Kirk's like, we have the right, and Aelborn's like, to wage war, Captain, to kill millions of innocent people, to destroy life on a planetary scale. Is that what you're defending? And Kirk's like, oh fuck, he got me.
He's been got. Yeah. Yeah, go climb a tree. That was great. Loved that line. Oh yeah, that's a pretty close approximation there. I like that one. Oh, I believe you'll find that several of them are no longer in perfect operating condition. Spock says to Core about his soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
I like that line too. That was funny. Spock can be witty too. That's pretty much it for my lines and moments.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. Anything that you didn't cover. I did like Spock saying that the Organians were as far above them as they were above the amoeba.
That was a good one.
Yeah. So that will speaking of, because you mentioned you had some good that's what they said. Let's go to that's what they said. And you had me start the last one, so do you want to go first on this one?
Sure. This is your that's what they said. It's for episode 26, you said?
Yes,
Errand of
26
Mercy.
episode.
Errand of Mercy. We've reached the designated position.
You blew up all right.
A most satisfactory display.
Quite large.
It was an interesting experience.
I have a tongue.
You will be taught how to use it.
Yay.
Yay.
I knew the I have a tongue was going to make it in as soon as I heard him say it. I'm like,
yeah.
That's going in. Yep.
That's also what they said.
Yes, it is. Okay, that will bring us to your episode trivia from Memory Alpha for Errand of Mercy. I promise this time, this is actually the last episode in which the term Vulcanian is used to refer to Vulcans, according to Memory Alpha.
I mean, I don't know what to believe anymore.
They've only noted that 3 times at this point. Both Vulcanian and Vulcan are used at different points in this episode. And this is what they have written down. Core uses Vulcanian and the Klingon lieutenant uses Vulcan, both in reference to Spock, which is wrong. It's flip-flopped. Because Core says Vulcan and the lieutenant who brings him back after he went through their mind reader device is the one who says Vulcanian. So
okay.
Fact checking on the internet is not a thing, even when it is like Memory Alpha, which should strive to. This is geeks who live on details and they're getting them wrong. Come on,
Geek, I felt better. Come
on. The baldric that Core wore was reused for Worf during the Next Generation's first season. When it was exhibited at the Smithsonian Institution as part of a Star Trek retrospective in the 90s, the material could clearly be seen to be burlap sacking painted gold. The same exhibit showed the buckles of the Klingon belts were pieces of bubble pack with the bubbles painted silver to resemble metal studs. They like taking random shit and spray painting it to make it into props.
I mean, it's resourceful, I guess.
It is. It's just funny how many things are just spray paint. The supply crates that they blow up with the grenade, the sonic grenade or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
They were corrugated cardboard cartons spray painted. Like,
Big surprise.
and then the main gate to the Organian village where Ileborn greets Kirk and Spock was previously the gate to Rigel 7 Castle in the Cage. The stairs on which Spock
Oh,
and Kirk phaser the Klingon guards are the same set where Christopher Pike battled the Kalar in the original pilot.
I thought you were going to say my name.
Location filming for both episodes was done at the Arab village portion of the famous 40 acres backlot.
Mm. A lot of shit went down in that back lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that'll do it for your episode trivia from Memory Alpha. That will bring us to
memes.
spoilers without context.
Memes.
And I believe you went first last time, so
you
we will
go.
bring my spoilers without context up on the screen. And I had to put in the Mind Flayer from Star Wars Andor because they're like the mind reading device, the Mind Ripper, and I'm like, Mind Flayer? Is it a Mind Flayer?
Mind Sifter.
Yeah. And then for the crate explosion, I had to put Lilu from The Fifth Element with the big bada boom. Big bada boom.
I haven't seen that.
You have never seen The Fifth Element? Wow.
Should I?
Yes, you probably should.
Okay.
The core says, well, kill them all. So I had to put him Metallica's kill them all. And then just because of Spock constantly telling Kirk the odds and what they are, I had to put in the Han and C-3PO when Han says, never tell me the odds.
Good one. That's a good one. Love that. Very good.
So those are mine. Thank you. We will bring up Ensign Kayla's.
Yes. I don't know if you noticed the outfit Spock was wearing.
Now that you did that,
the fuck, like Doctor Strange, and I was like, were they predicting the future for someone else who is going to play Spock will also play Doctor Strange?
He didn't play Spock.
Coincidence? Not Spock.
He played
fucking Spock. Yeah. He was in Star Trek.
Yes, he was in Star Trek. Yeah,
he was fucking Khan. I know. Shush. Let me be.
I just. You got there. I just gave you a nudge in the right direction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, because of the telepathy and whatever crazy powers the Organians had, I did the mind meld, which also could have worked last episode. No. And then I searched hot potato.
Oh.
And I just loved this one because it just looks like the potato like farted or something. And then, any chance I can get to include my girlfriend Chapel, I will include her. And this is from the Charades episode when she's talking to the Cracanians, something like that. The like beings that, don't have physical bodies. And so, it reminded me of the Organians in that regard, that they don't have physical bodies. But I mean, they create physical bodies for outward appearances. But yeah, that's it.
Okay. Very good. Sorry, I got distracted because I went to look.
I congratulated you on your great memes, and I get, okay.
Sorry, I got distracted. I was looking at something else. I was trying to go look up the name of the aliens that Chapel was talking to. Yeah.
Beans, the magical fruit.
Everybody in the chat give Kayla props for her excellent spoilers without context.
Shut up. No, I hate it. I want to crawl into a hole and die.
Okay, let's go to rank the episode. Ensign Kayla.
Okay.
What do you think of Errand of Mercy?
Yeah. So, about that. I know it's Klingons, and like Klingons are a big deal. They are, right? Like it's
I
not
mean,
just
yeah.
yeah. Um I don't I think I'm gonna have to go with Commander.
Okay.
I I want to give it Captain, but like, yeah, something about this episode, it just didn't. I think what I was saying before, like a lot of the scenes kind of felt similar to each other. That it just felt like it was kind of dragging on. It was kind of repeating the same tropes, and it was repeating similar tropes in a way. So it didn't really stick out to me, grab me, hook me in, etc. Um, like it was still really good. Like watch it because it's the fucking Klingons. You got to watch it. But I don't know if I can give it Captain. So, yeah.
Okay. I'm going Commander too because while it is the first appearance of the Klingons, they changed so much from how they are
Yeah.
here that they almost may as well almost be a different race.
Hmm.
At least over time. I mean, they're pretty consistent from what I remember, pretty consistent throughout
Hmm.
TOS. They get a
Hmm.
lot more development in Next Generation. Um, but yeah, I would say don't skip it unless you absolutely have to, which I don't know if anybody has to skip anything in their watches these days, but that's just the premise of the rankings. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, we'll do a unanimous rank of Commander for Errand of Mercy.
Indeed.
And that'll do it for this week's episode. Next week, the alternative factor.
Done. Oh.
IMDb.com says existence itself comes under threat from a man's power struggle with his alternate self, with the Enterprise's strained dilithium crystals presenting his key to a final solution.
I thought we weren't going to hear dilithium again.
No, just lithium. They
Oh,
called
just
them lithium crystals. Yeah. And you were right. Those aliens were Krakowians. So well remembered because I didn't remember that.
I may have had to search it when
When
looking
you
up
were
the
looking up.
image. But it's also a hard word to remember. So I
Yeah.
was like, I think that's right.
I also just realized that while it's spelled differently, it is kind of just like Kirk Ovians.
Oh.
And it's
Anything
said, I
there?
believe they say it in the episode, Kirkovians, but it does kind of look like it could be Kirkovians. Maybe it's an Easter egg. It's a subtle Easter egg.
Fascinating.
And
I forgot to do that after your things. Damn it. Next time. Next time I'll
Next
get
time.
you. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Make sure to smack that like, smack that subscribe, smack that bell icon. We greatly appreciate it. If you're catching us on the replay, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a comment. And coming up tomorrow, I will be on Victoria's Cantina. Not sure what we're talking about yet because at this point it is 3 weeks before that. But tune in for that. She has an awesome channel. She's been around for literally 10 years now on YouTube. It's kind of
Wow.
crazy. Yeah. And so yeah, very excited about that. And then Thursday will be regular Trek Retrek at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, as usual. And yeah, more Loki episodes will be out. I think at this point there will be one the day before, and then there'll be one next Friday. So look out for that one. And yeah, I think that's it. You can follow us at GTFO channel on all the socials, or our email is channelgtfo@gmail.com if you want to email us. And yeah, Thanks again, everyone. See you next time. Until then, thanks for geeking the F out with us. Peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.